Good morning! It's Valentine's Day and I'm going to make raspberry scones. My wife has to go to work later, so this will be what we can have for breakfast. I'm going to start with the flour and pour it into a bowl. And I like using a sifter to get rid of any lumps. Also, we've got the oven heating at 400 degrees, and you can line a cookie sheet with parchment paper. I'm using one of these silicone mats called Silpats. They seem to work pretty well. And then we're also going to add our baking powder and salt. We'll also add the sugar. You can use a mixture of regular granulated sugar and raw sugar if you want a more rustic, crunchier scone. This lemon came straight from a friend's lemon tree here in the San Fernando Valley. The zester on your grater is that funny spiky one. Can you see? They do have zesters available that are just like one rectangular grater. It's just one side, and I think those are really useful. I just don't have one. And you don't want to go too much past the where it starts getting lighter in color, because after that, the white part, the pith, that's not very tasty. It's more bitter. And now we'll stir that up with a whisk just to make it all combined evenly and get rid of any lumps. It's not much to it, really. But I just read a tip that if you don't have a pastry blender, I do not, you can freeze the butter and then grate it with a cheese grater on like the biggest whole size, and then add it in, and it makes it much easier to break up the butter, and it makes for like a flakier scone. So we're going to combine this, I don't know, with a wooden spoon or something, just so that you have like a crumbly flour and butter mix. Now we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. So you're going to loosely mix this by hand. It's going to be sticky. So now that this dough is starting to stick together, I'm going to prepare my surface for rolling it out. Pour out some flour. La da 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 da. And yes, there is a little extra flour that hasn't gotten mixed in yet, but that's okay. So you just want to get it together. Maybe knead it a couple times. But it's important not to overwork it, because then it's going to become tough and not enjoyable when you eat it. This isn't like pie dough. It's not pizza dough. It's a delicate pastry. Okay, so I haven't been pressing hard, just getting it together. Well, I'm going to roll it out. You want it to be a rectangle that's about 8 by 10. If you've never dealt with pastry before like this, the important thing is just to have your hands floured, your surface floured, and your rolling pin floured. So here's a little flour. La, la, la. I don't have a rolling pin. You can use a wine bottle. If you don't have wine, you can use a whiskey bottle, I guess. I don't know. So gently roll it out. And you want to make sure it's not getting stuck, because the longer it stays flat, on the table, the harder it's going to be to get it up. The harder it's going to be to get it off of the table. Alright, now that I've gotten it to the size that I want, it's time to take out the raspberries. They're frozen raspberries so that when you're making the scone they don't get all smushed and gooey. And we're going to fold this dough into thirds, and we're going to put the raspberries, press them in on the lower 2/3. You'll see what I mean in a second. Alright, it's confession time. I've never made these before. So, I'm going to do the best I can. So we start with the top, fold it over the raspberries. Whew. I think that's the hardest part, probably. Maybe. I'm going to press it down because we don't want the berries to like roll all over the place. And now we're going to fold the last part over. Remember, flour is our friend. And I do not want it to get stuck to the table and all messed up. So we're going to roll the last part over. It worked. You can pinch the sides together so that it's not open. Kind of just press them together. And then we're going to use the rolling pin to flatten it out so that we have something that's about 1 inch thick. This is so cool, I have to say. Very impressed with myself. At this point, we're going to cut the dough into 4 equal pieces. And then with each of these rectangles, we're going to cut it on the diagonal so we have a triangle shaped scone. You're also going to want on hand a floured plate because we're going to put these scones in the freezer for a little bit. Put them in the freezer for 5 minutes. So they've just come out of the freezer. I'm going to put them on a baking sheet and we're going to dress them up with a little bit of the 1 tablespoon of heavy cream and 1 tablespoon of sugar to give it that nice crispy golden top. This is the 1 tablespoon of heavy cream that I've had set aside, and I'm going to use a brush to kind of just paint the tops. And now the sugar, just going to sprinkle it on. In they go to the 400-degree oven for 20 minutes. Oh my gosh, look how awesome! Now, after 5 minutes, put them on a wire rack to cool if you can. If not, that's okay. Maybe take them off of the hot pan though and onto a cooler plate or something, maybe on top of a paper towel, just so that they have a little space to cool and not get, I don't know, too dense or flat or soggy, I don't know. I took this wire rack from the toaster oven. You know, it's in the toaster oven like this. Took it out, flip it over, and that's where I'm going to put them. Thanks for watching. I hope you like them. Happy Valentine's Day.